Hi everyone, Dre here, and welcome to my 10 tips for starting your own World of Warcraft guild. Let's jump in. Tip number 1, find your purpose. Your purpose is the foundation that the rest of your guild decisions should be made on. What need are you filling, or what problem are you solving by creating your own World of Warcraft guild? This can be as simple as the need to create a community of like-minded individuals. You just have to identify what makes someone like-minded. For the Misfit Elders, we found that there was a need for a guild that catered to a more mature WoW player who may be returning to the game after a couple years away. This is the niche that we fill. Each guild should have its own. Tip number 2, determine your structure early. If you think of your purpose as your foundation, your structure is the framework. When players join a new guild, especially one that is brand new, they often want to know, what are your ranks and what are the perks for those ranks? How does a player move up in rank? What makes someone eligible to become an officer? And what are the duties of those officers? These are probably the 4 questions I got most often when we were starting out. That doesn't mean just because you create a framework at the beginning that it can't change over time. It's just important to put some thought into these at the front end. Tip number 3, plan to grow. Very few guilds grow by accident. It is often not enough just to create a guild and expect people to join you. Luckily, there are many resources that you can use to advertise your guild. There are websites such as wowprogress.com and guildsofwow.com where you can advertise that you are looking for new members. In addition, there are forums and discords specifically set up for recruiting guild members. And just this past year, WoW added an in-game recruitment tool. The many sources to advertise a guild could be its own video, so if you would like one, comment below. Tip number 4, set up communication channels. Guilds can utilize in-game communication channels or external ones, just depending on your preference. In-game, you have the ability to set up multiple guild chat boards and utilize the in-game voice communications. Most guilds still prefer to use external communication options, such as Discord. Discord is not the only option though, as I have seen guilds use Twitter or websites or even emails to communicate with members. It's just important that you set up what those communication expectations will be. My guild chooses to use mostly Discord, but we do utilize the in-game calendar and chat to communicate important events. Which leads us to tip number 5, schedule regular activities. Regular activities are the lifeblood of your guild. If your members are not getting together, they're likely drifting apart, so it's important to facilitate this where you can. The great thing about WoW is there are so many different things that you can do. Your guild can level characters together, do older content for transmogs, run current raids, run Mythic Plus, or even do things such as pet battle tournaments or herb gathering. It doesn't really matter what the activity is as long as your guild members enjoy doing it together. Tip number 6, set behavior expectations. When a new player joins the Misfit Elders, they are quickly met with a message that lets them know our guild chat is PG-13 and we expect them to treat other players with honor, respect, and compassion. These are the simple behavior expectations we set up front. The expectations for your guild members may be different. We're not a fan of the cursey words, but maybe your group is. You would not want to have players in there who are uncomfortable with that. You can also set expectations on how you expect your players to utilize the guild bank, work with each other in raid and mythic content, and other activities. Communicate this early and communicate this often to help head off any future issues. Speaking of issues, tip number 7 is to prepare for disagreements. No matter how clear you think you have been in setting expectations, there will be times when players disagree with those expectations or have disagreements with each other. How you handle these disagreements can greatly shape the future of your guild, so it's important to have a framework on how these will be handled. For the Misfit Elders, we have 2 guild leaders and a corps of officers. If 2 players have a disagreement between them and cannot resolve it peacefully, they are expected to escalate that to an officer or a guild leader. If they have a disagreement with an officer, they are expected to bring it to one of the 2 guild leaders. If they have an issue with one of the guild leaders, they are expected to bring it to the other guild leader for discussion. This is the framework that we have set up that has served us fairly well, but it's different for each and every guild. Just note, disagreements are one of the biggest reasons that guilds split and fall apart, so thinking about how these can be handled is a great way to set your guild up for success. Tip number 8 is to delegate responsibly. It is nearly impossible for a single player to do everything that a guild needs to be successful long term. So how you choose to delegate tasks and responsibility can have a huge impact. When choosing people to do certain tasks for you, remember to play to their strengths as well as their likes for the best outcomes. The second and probably most important thing is to remember that unless you are paying your players, they are doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. They are taking time away from their own gameplay and spending time with their families in order to do these things for your guild, so set reasonable expectations. One of the ways the Misfit Elders has chosen to handle this issue is when we choose a new officer, they are signing up for a specific role and a 2-month term. After those 2 months are up, we check in and see how they have performed their duties, and if they would like to renew, we have that discussion. Otherwise, they are welcome to retire to an honorary role and kick their feet up and enjoy the guild just like any other guild member. Tip number 9, help your people grow. Now, growth will mean different things for different people and different guilds, depending on your specialty and needs. If you are a raiding guild, growth may mean helping your players learn new add-ons that are coming out on the market, getting the weak auras that they need, and learning how to improve their DPS. If you're a guild that's focused on pet battles, helping your players grow could mean sharing guides on how to get the latest and greatest pets. If your guild is focused on new players, it may mean guides on how to set up a character and providing bags. It all depends on what your niche is, but players are looking for value when they join a guild. So what are you doing to help your players meet their goals? And last but certainly not least, tip number 10 is to embrace the ebb and flow. Anyone who plays WoW for a significant period of time learns that the game is fairly cyclical. Every time that there is a new expansion or patch, there's a lot of interest, and that decreases over time as content gets older. It's important to understand where we are at in this cycle and to frame your recruiting appropriately. That does not mean you should not recruit during slow periods, as players may be looking to move from a guild that is quiet during the downtime to one that is more active. In addition, there is ebb and flow in guilds themselves. Your guild will not be a perfect fit for every player or every season of a player's life. It is okay for players to leave your guild in search of something that better fits their needs. If handled gracefully, you can learn from those departing players on what your guild could be doing better. Even if you are running a successful guild, you may have players leave due to changes in their real life or changes in their goals in-game. Embrace the change and focus on long-term growth. And these were my 10 tips on how to set up your own successful World of Warcraft guild. Have a tip that I missed? Please leave it in the comments below. Also, hit that like and notification bell if you enjoyed this video. My socials are in the description box, and if you would like to catch me live, I can be found at twitch.tv/DraiaRodahi.